All right. In all seriousness, thanks for being here on a Sunday. Um, this is a busy time, so this worked out the best. So hopefully y'all can get what you need, and it's not too inconvenient. We wrapped up our third North Carolina practice today. We'll practice tomorrow morning, and then we'll give our guys off when we finish from about noon. They'll get off the rest of the day tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then we're coming back Friday evening, and we'll start a normal game week. So in our mind, Friday will be a Monday practice, and we'll carry on through that. Um, Extremely busy. I think most of you all know that in college football right now. So signing day on Wednesday. So I'll see you again on Wednesday. We'll try to ask all your North Carolina stuff now today. That way we'll talk signees, and if we have the GAI or whatever GIAs for the portal guys, we'll talk about them too then if we can. But obviously recruiting been gone for most of 2 weeks during the week, and we've practiced the last 2 weekends. Portal is obviously open, so you work on retaining your own roster and trying to add the pieces we need. And so a lot going on. I want to congratulate, because I don't think I have an opportunity. First, starting with Beanie. I mean, 13th consensus All-American, huge honor for him, and he earned it. Zach Frazier also several All-American teams, and the Campbell Trophy went out to Vegas with him the week before last, and that's a huge honor. And then Jaheim White, he's made a bunch of freshman All-American teams, so proud of those guys. And then we've also, during this time, we've been scrimmaging our young guys. So we did it twice last weekend. We've done it 3 times. We'll do it 4th time this weekend. And so just some guys, because I know that you all want to know this, but I think defensively these are the guys I think are making progress. Our Corey McIntyre, Hammond Russell, Josiah Jackson, Asani Redwood. They've really had this weekend. They've really stuck out. I think they've had nice weekends. On Monday, or our Monday Night Football, are scrimmaging with our developmental guys, and then offensively, DJ Oliver, Nico's had a really good month of December, and Tyler Evans, who's a walk-on that's really coming on, and then 2 young tackles, Nick Cray and Johnny Williams. And so we'll scrimmage those guys tomorrow again, and then on Friday, and that'll be kind of the last developmental scrimmage that we'll do during this bowl prep. But it's been really good, and I think you all know this, but the redshirt rule, the bowl game doesn't count for red shirts anymore. And so even these guys that have played 4 games, like a DJ Oliver, he'll be up and be able to compete, which really helps. That's one of the rules that's been passed that actually makes sense. All right, that actually makes sense. And then our plan is in the bowl game is, some of these guys that have really come on, because you think about this, these guys that we made decisions on, in fall camp that they were going to be redshirted, they've gone through a 14-week off-season program with our strength conditioning, and then they scrimmaged once a week during every regular season week, and we did it 2 times on our mini, and then we've done it. We'll have 7 total during December, and so these guys are quite a bit better than they were in December, or than they were in fall camp. So there's going to be some guys, especially on special teams. We didn't play very well on special teams toward the end of the year, so we're going to give those guys some opportunities. Injury updates: Zach will miss the game. I think we've already said that. C.J. Donaldson will miss the game, and that's really my decision. He had surgery, and I thought it affected him right at the end of the game, especially in the Baylor game. And for him, as a head coach, you got to make decisions, the betterment of the entire program, but also for the right reasons for each individual. And I felt like that an off season was more important than him than not being able to play full speed in the bowl game. And so he's rehabbing, but he will not be available. And then I think Preston Fox, it's too early. And so we'll have a better idea when we get down to Charlotte. He's practiced a little bit, but we'll know more closer to the game, and so unsure on that one yet. But with that, I'll take questions.
So besides that, and obviously the portal guys who are leaving, who I assume aren't going to play. Anybody else who's opting out type thing, not going to play?
Not to this point.
Okay.
Yeah, not to this point. And I'm trying to think here, Greg. I don't think we have anybody that's in the portal right now that's going to play. And so, and those have already been publicized. Y'all seen who's out. You can ask if you got somebody that's your, but everybody else, is going to play and be available.
So with that, your defensive backfield it was thin to begin with. Now it's thinner with the portal losses. How do you adjust back there?
Well, Hershey's the guy that was playing some. And then we've been playing, you've watched, we've been playing Marcus Floyd. We've been playing more of a kind of a 5 defensive backs, toward the back half of the year anyway. So Marcus Floyd will play there. And what we'll do is we'll have a rotation. We can play Aubrey can play some nickel, and then Malachi can bounce back and play some safety, and we can get Jacoby some more snaps at corner, which I think he's earned. And so we'll just move some pieces around and try to spell them by drive, all right, and just try to make do. Riley Collins could play a little bit more at spear. So that's how we'll kind of work our numbers.
Talking to Beanie before you got in here, and he had a pretty good testimonial for your program. He said, some people go places for NIL money. I came here because I want to be a better football player. And he was a better football player. What's that speak? He's the first portal guy that's ever been a consensus All-American here. So what's that say for your program?
Well, I think first of all, he's a good fit, right? This is kind of an underdog program. And so you think about his career, he goes to Western, kind of under-recruited out of Louisville. Goes to Western, has 3 really good years, transfers to Minnesota. And he played, I think, close to 350, 400 snaps last year, but was a rotational guy and wanted to have a better opportunity. And he came here and he just worked. And the thing that first of all, I'm really happy for him individually, but then it's been not just his on-field performance has helped us, but his work ethic, how he practiced, how he prepared has really helped our defensive backfield. Like some of the younger guys, even some of the older guys that have eligibility, he's really made a difference back there. And we're better. We're significantly better because of him. But I think it's a good story. It's going to help us in the portal. It's going to help us not only this year in the portal cycle, but moving forward. It's going to help us for sure.
You mentioned when I asked you about if you'd welcome former Mountaineers back that it depends on how they chose to leave, professionalism, things like that. Since it is out there on the ones this year that did choose to depart, were there any that you were surprised about? Like, what are your thoughts on them? Do you understand why they made the decision that they made?
Yeah. I got to think back here, Mike. We lost. Let me say, I'll use Hershey as an example. Like Hershey, I really like, but he graduated, and I always. He finished his obligation, which he's got 1 year eligibility, but he finished his obligation. He handled it in the right way. I understood where he was coming from. I didn't want him to leave, but I do understand. And, and for the most part, there's probably one, and I'm not going to mention names, but there was one, and he wasn't even the guy that played, but there was one that I was surprised by. And, but other than that, I understood.
DJ Oliver, is he a guy that could potentially play in the backfield?
Yeah. Yep. He's gotten better. He is, if you look at 2 of the guys, I think in our freshman class that have changed their bodies the most are him and Corey McIntyre. And they're both going to play a good amount of snaps. And so I'm excited too. I think, and this is one thing I'll say about North Carolina is, so North Carolina's had a few opt-outs. They've got some guys in the portal, just like everybody else in the country right now. But I also think in bowl games, it always goes to the team that's most excited. And they're going to play a lot of new guys in the game. And those guys are going to be really excited. And I think our guys that are going to play more, like a Corey McIntyre, because he's going to play more snaps on the defensive line because he's earned that right. And there's more opportunity since Mike left. So I'm excited to see him play. And I know, man, he's going to play with a lot of energy. And some of these other guys that are going to get some more opportunities on special teams and on our offensive defense, man, they're going to be really fired up about the game. And so, but DJ, yes, he definitely, how many carries, I don't know, but he definitely has the opportunity to play at running back. You know, it's going to be Jaheim, and he'll start, and then Jalen and DJ are going to be the guys that play.
If Preston can't play, who returns punts and kicks?
So Beanie or Rodney will be the punt returner, and then kickoff return it'll be either Rodney or DJ.
Yates center.
Yates will play center. Yeah. So Yates will play center, and then Malone will continue to play, and we'll have a little rotation there. Yeah. It's kind of like the first. I didn't mean to cut you off, Mike, but it's kind of it's really kind of a peek into 24. You know, we talk about this too. It's like it's your finale for 23, and it's an opportunity to get to 9 wins, and it's really important. But it's also kind of your start of your 24 too, and for our O-line, that's really the case because Yates is playing, and so. But yeah, he'll start. I'm sorry, Mike.
I was just going to just to clarify is in terms of the returners with Rodney and Beanie, is that only if Preston can't go? 'Cause right now he's questionable, or
yeah, yeah. If Preston. Now we'll probably mix up kickoff return. You know, we're going to give Rodney an opportunity on kickoff return because we haven't been good enough there, and that's not Preston's fault. We just haven't been good enough, and Rodney's to the point now, and we've worked it for a month, so he'll do the kickoff return. If Preston can go, he'll do the punt return. If he can't, then Beanie will go, and he's done it in games, and it'll be a good showcase for him too because that's another add-on for the next level.
Looking at North Carolina, what was the difference their first half of the season versus second half?
Yeah, that's probably a question for them. You know, they're talented. You know, I think offensively they're in the top 10 in the country. And they've played pretty well. Offensively, they had some turnovers late, and but yeah, that's probably a question for them. You know. Here's what I see. I see a group that's talented. I think they're dangerous because they're going to have some new people playing. And I think sometimes like that's underestimated, especially in the bowl season. You know, everybody pays attention to who's not playing, but all these other guys got new opportunities, and they've been recruiting at a pretty good level. And so we're gonna see some pretty good players. The scary, and I think I said this on that Zoom on. You know, it seemed like forever ago. I guess it was, but it seemed like forever ago. That running back is a really, really good player. And we've played a bunch of good running backs this year, but he's as good as anybody we've played. And then defensively they've got the ability to rush. They've got a couple pass rushers. And we haven't seen a lot of elite pass rushers this year. And they've got a couple guys that can really they have great speed off the edge, and so something we're really working on.
Who's not playing? Beanie said it's been hard just to find film of Harold.
Well, yeah. He's played a little bit. The thing that I'm using, I go back and watch him at Thompson in Alabama, and he won a couple state championships there. So when you think about him, I think two things stick out. First of all, he's really fast. He's a big kid that's really fast. Second thing is he throws the deep ball really well. And if you go back and you watch his high school tape, is post and go routes. He threw really well. And they've got some big body guys at receiver. And so are they going to look the exact same they did when Drake May played quarterback? I don't know. You know, I think they're not going to ask their O-line to do a bunch of different things, but I think they're definitely going to have some quarterback run game, and I can see them throwing the ball off some play action stuff and getting the ball downfield. And I know he has a lot of confidence throwing the ball like on those deep throws, and he's talented doing that.
The way you describe him sounds a whole lot like the way you describe Garrett.
Yeah, he's just bigger. He's bigger, and he's making his first start. But they will. I think they'll do some things that are similar to what we've done with some quarterback run game. And but I would bet, and I don't know this, okay, because I've been going in a bunch of different directions. But sometimes, like, and as good as, May's special, right? He really is. He's going to be the first or second quarterback taken in the draft, and he's special. But also when you're playing in these games, like there's going to be some energy around them playing. It's a chance for him. This is an opportunity for him now on a good stage. They brought in a transfer quarterback, and I guarantee you he's using this to show, hey, you know what, you might be bringing a transfer in, but I'm here and I'm ready to compete, and this is my job. And so, this is even though he hadn't played, he's really talented.
Not about changing the subject. What's the difference around here a year later from last year? You got a losing season, didn't get a bowl bid. Future unknown,
Yeah.
as to this year in the whole program. I mean, what difference does winning make?
Well, winning makes it, but I think the process of what got to the wins is, so this had a different feel to it going back to really when you get your whole, because you don't feel like you got your, as a coach, like you have 2 portal dates and all that, but you don't really feel like you can exhale and go, okay, this is my team until the first day of fall camp. All right, first day of fall camp, you got your team. And so it's really had a different feel the whole time. It's and I think some of it is just our leadership's better. We made some significant changes schematically, defensively. We really changed kind of who we were offensively, and the locker room dynamics are a lot different and they're a lot better, right? And so I think that enabled some success. And so this December is quite a bit different than a year ago. I think our outlook is much more positive, both in-house and outside here. But yeah, I mean, it's there's no doubt. Like I'm not. It's significantly different.
The stuff going on outside, I don't know if you caught it. Probably have the basketball cases and the transfer process. That
Yeah.
maybe blowback for you and your thinking and potential.
I think I think it's unsettled still. It's going to affect basketball more. I think. I don't know. Did y'all follow what Chip Kelly talked about? I thought that, yeah. I mean, we've got. Here's what I'll say: is our game's got a lot of issues, but the product's still great. So, people are going to tune in to these bowl games. They're going to have all high rankings. People are going to tune in to the CFP, and it's going to have extremely high rankings. Still the high, one of the highest spectator sports, if not the highest spectator sport. But we got some issues, and we got to figure it out. And to me, football's kind of grown into its own entity. Who are we kidding? Like we're gonna send our soccer team to Arizona for a midweek game. I mean, come on, and so I think there's some real issues. The transfer piece, I probably, as far as the basketball goes, Mike, is I don't know enough about it to really comment on it, and I don't have a solution. But I think we've got a system, man, that's really kind of it's broken, and we need some real outside the box thinking to kind of get it fixed. The just our calendar, football calendar. Think about the kid that's leaving Texas, the quarterback, right? And he's having to make a decision to leave right in the middle of a CFP. And I get it. He's trying to secure a new home. But we think about that, he's having to do that. And what we're doing is we have a professional model, but we're still operating on an academic calendar, and the two worlds are so different. And so we got to figure out some solutions. I don't have one right now, but we got to figure some things out.
Does it wrinkle any of your roster management stuff? Because you've been doing work for so long, and all of a sudden, guys who transfer once can go again, or they can. It just seems like there goes the tablecloth on you.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So like, here's what I'll say. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, you just think about it from a roster management standpoint. So I keep a red folder on my desk, and is our high school signees, our current depth chart, what we're looking for transfer portal wise, and our scholarship list, right? And it's so fluid, and it's hard to, it's so flowing because, you have, let's just talk about here in December. So you've got guys that go in the portal, and kind of where your roster numbers. And I'm sure, I don't know how many, but I'm sure after the bowl game we'll have a few more. I don't know how many, and we may not have any. But my assumption is just the way it kind of works is we'll have a couple more. And so, but trying to figure out, like, what's the exact number of high school players to take and what the exact number of transfer portal guys to take, those are moving targets at all times. And so now if you add a second transfer into this, you're basically saying that everybody's a free agent every time the portal opens. Good luck. But I'll say this too is like, I think fans suffer because of it, but to the general public, it's not an issue because the product's still really good. Nobody gives a shit if the coach's lives stink. I mean, really. I mean, well compensated and all that kind of stuff. But it's not a good process. It's not. We got to figure something out because if we're talking about, I think most teams, us included, you're looking at a third of the roster that's going to turn over every year, right? I think 30 going out and 30 coming in is about what we're going to be dealing with, okay? But now you make it where it's 85. I mean, yeah, that's a challenge.
To that end about what's going on right now, we got to the point where there are windows, which is a little bit less chaotic than it was initially.
That's better. You're fair.
Right. But there is still everything you're saying that's also valid. So what are your thoughts on the debate of, well, maybe having a window prior to the bowl game delegitimizes the bowl season? Should the window be after the bowl game? Is that even possible with the academic calendar? And then try to do one with spring game and then after that and all that as well?
Yeah, so I think like the bowls, it's fine. Okay, we're going to run into issues when we go to a 12-team playoff. And now, like yesterday would have been the first round of games. And that's really tough because now you're really only dealing with 4 teams that are dealing with guys at roster flux. Now you're dealing with 12, and I think that's probably too many. But anyway, we could debate the state of college football all we want. Anybody got bowl questions? Yes.
You guys are going to have a month layoff. How do you not lose the rhythm that you had, especially that Baylor game? You guys were kind of clicking there in the second half, fourth quarter. How do you not drop off there in the month long? Yeah,
it's a challenge. Yeah, absolutely challenge. So I think watching the bowl games yesterday, kind of had them in the background as we were hosting recruits and getting ready for practice and those type of things. And when you look at it, if you look at the teams that lost, a lot of turnovers, right? Rich Rod was really they overcame turnovers to win the game, but everybody else that had a lot of turnovers, they lost the game. And the flip side of that on defense is missed tackles. And so when you get into this where you have a big window between games is back 10, 15 years ago, people would try to have basically a spring practice session during December. And there was still a lot of contact, a lot of physicality. As kind of our world's changed now, is you can't do that anymore. Your roster numbers are not as such. You'd have a player revolt if you tried to do that. I mean, truthfully. And so there's a mix where, like, we don't practice the same way during bowl prep that we do during in season. Like, bowl games are rewards. You know, they need to be treated different than a normal game week. And so we're doing a lot of good on good. We do a little bit of scout work, but it's mostly good on good. And we got about a 30-minute, per practice shorter than we do during a normal in season. And so the concerns from my perspective are twofold. Is, we're a running football team, and we got to get our work in while also being cognizant of we can't, we don't want to be too physical, right? And so we got to get our work in, and we got to make sure that our O-line is in sync and our tight ends are in sync and they're coming off the ball and doing those things. Our running backs are, because they're young, so we got to make sure that they're in rhythm. And defensively, the concern is playing the run, making sure we can take on double teams, make sure we can spill, all right, counter and things like that. But it is a challenge. It is a challenge, and we're not tackling. We're trying to be as physical as we can, but keeping people off the ground because we don't want to get people hurt this late in the year. But it is. But I think that's not only my concern. I'd say if you went and asked everybody around college football, they have the same concerns. So we got to figure it out and go down and play. And the expectation is we go down and play well and kind of build off what we did the last 7 games offensively.
One thing, just to make sure, Montre Miller needs a waiver for next year?
He needs a waiver. Yep. And I don't know as much about it. I would think he has a good case. I would
It
think.
would be an injury waiver.
Yeah. Yep. He had surgery and missed a year. Yep.
Going back to what you made about bowls are about who's more excited. Fairly common. But the regular season's like that too, right? Why is it more important or more difficult?
It is, but so when you get into these, when you get into both seasons, so like let's go back to the regular season, and so that season that's played out, and you're in a rhythm, right? Everything's in a rhythm. Your Mondays are the same, your Tuesdays are the same, your Wednesdays are the same, and so guys stay in a really good rhythm. And when you get into bowl prep, there's no rhythm, and so I think it's about, different people handle bowls different ways. And what we want to be is we want to be the freshest, and we want our guys to be really excited to play. And I think, like, how you handle your preparation, what kind of rewards you do, I think those things really matter. I think mixing in some young players really helps. That's why, like, the opt-outs and some of that stuff, I'm kind of like, or people going in the portal, I'm like, we'll be a little bit different than when we played at Baylor, but I don't know if that's all bad. Like, and North Carolina probably feels the same way. Anybody else? Y'all good? All right. Thank y'all.